Tonight, what we're going to be working on is how to solve for half-life problems because we'll be giving you a lot of calculations and you're going to need to figure out how long has it been since this thing started, how much do you have left, so on and so forth, how much did you start with. The easiest way is when you have a traditional half-life problem is to use one of these types of setups. What it does is it kind of categorizes the important key information that you need to know for half-life, such as how many half-lives have occurred, how much time has passed, and how much is left. Now, if you notice, the number of half-lives always starts at 0 and the time always starts at 0, but the amount never starts at 0. And the reason why is because the amount progressively gets smaller, okay, divided by a half each time, whereas the time progressively gets larger, and so does the number of half-lives. You always start with 0 at your starting point. You're always going to have no time pass, and therefore no half-lives have passed. And that will also be your largest amount that you will have there or present. So let's try to do a problem. What it says is what you want to look for are key terms such as times and amounts. So in this I see that there are 12.3 years per half-life, and then I also notice that they give me 88 grams and it decays to 11 grams. When I'm trying to fill out one of these charts that I give you right here, what I want to do is how I do it is I try to figure out which information, which column do I give you both pieces, the starting and the ending information for. If I give you both times, if I give you both grams, that's the column you're going to want to fill in first, and then from there you can fill in all the other columns. So when it asks for how many years, I am looking for a time amount in the end for it to go from 88 grams to 11 grams. So I'm going to first do is start filling in my 88 grams. So I've got 88 grams. After each half-life, I will have half of that amount. So I'm going to divide it by 2 each time. So after one half-life, I'm going to go to 44 grams. And I'm going to keep dividing by 2 until I get to that final one, which is 11. So I get 22 grams, then 11 grams. The next thing I'm going to do is figure out how many half-lives was that. Well, that was 1, 2, 3 half-lives. And I'm just going to keep going until I run into my final part, which was that 11 grams. And then what I want to do is solve how many years did it take. Years is my time. What I do know is that each half-life is 12.3 years. So after one half-life, 12.3 years has occurred or passed. And yes, you do need to write the years and the grams, the units. Then what you're going to do is after the next half-life, it's additive. So I'm going to add another 12.3 years. So I get 24.6 years. And then the next time I'm going to add the 12.3 again. So I get 36.9 years. All right. And so now I'm done and I found my final answer to be 36.9 years. Round to the correct number of sig figs, it would be 37 years. The next problem is going to be solving in a very similar way. We're going to be using these charts once again. So looking through this, I'm going to try to figure out, hey, what information do I have both columns for? I see something called days, I see grams, I see another grams, and then I'm asked actually for the half-life. So what I want to do first is I know that I give you both grams pieces of information, so I'm going to fill out that entire column. So starting off, I'm going to start with 2 grams. And I'm going to keep dividing by 2 until I get to my final amount, which is the 0.25. So I go 1 gram, and then 0.5 grams, and then I get to 0.25 grams. Okay, so now analyzing, I'm going to figure out how many half-lives was that. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. So reading the problem, it says that after 42 days, that's when this event occurred where I was at 0.25. So I actually know my final answer is 42 days. And it asks for, hey, what is this guy up here? Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a proportion because I know that it took 42 days for 3 half-lives. It's going to be proportionate to however many days it took for 1 half-life. So when you cross multiply, you get 1 times 42 and 3 times x, divide both sides by 3, and you end up with x equal 14 years. I'm sorry, days. So I'm going to fill in 14 days for here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check. Because I know that this is additive, this whole column, if I add 14 to the next one, I should get 28 days. And then if I did this correctly, if I added 14 again, I should get 42, which I do. So now I know my answer was correct at 14 days.